There's not much point blaming Labour voters for getting what they wanted. That isn't the problem. I'm going to read you something I've put on Twitter. It's no good blaming Labour voters for what they, getting what they wanted. And it's no good screaming at Farage or anyone else for tearing into the new Prime Minister. Parliament's in recess, there's nobody about. Be practical. Parliament is in recess. You're howling at the moon. And they come back to work in September. What we need is what the other side has in buckets. Unity and patience. Now the reason I say this is you have to wait for Labour to be in control of their own demise, and they've already begun. Because the people who voted for Keir Starmer, many of them didn't expect full-on communism. They didn't. It's as simple as that. Many of them are working class people who still think Labour's for the working man and have got it wrong. Only 20% of the country voted for Starmer. That's a really low turnout. That's favourable to us because the ones that did vote for him, if you think about it, if there's only, I think it was 9 million altogether that voted for Starmer. So take out the London sect, the ones that are in the bubble. He'd always retain those because they're mad, crazy. He'll lose the rest of the country because his pledges, the things he's coming out with, for a start, weren't in the manifesto. So it's taking all the country by storm. Let's just see where we stand. His first slap is with the pensioners, stopping the winter fuel allowance. Now that isn't just taking it off the wealthy. That's taking it off people with £6,000 or more in the bank. £6,000 isn't a lot of money. £6,000 is what you could have had put to one side in case you needed to pay for some healthcare or a holiday. He's hitting a lot of people here. And then in 2025 they're going to stop the social care cap of £85,000, which means if you've got a house worth, we'll call it 200,000, and you're a pensioner and one of you goes in care, the government could only take up to £85,000 off you, and then you were equalised with anyone else who was getting it for free. They're going to take the cap off, which means it can come onto your asset base for everything. So that's going to affect the descendants. Granny isn't suddenly going to leave you a nest egg anymore because Granny's nest egg's going to the state. That's another section of society he's going to hit. So how many more things is he going to unleash on the public who voted for him that didn't expect it? Because this stuff was not in his manifesto. So all the things they think they're going to get, they're not going to get. And when you get back to the interview with Peter Hitchens with trigonometry, where he quotes the fact that in an LBC interview with Nick Ferrari, when asked who does he support, he supports the working man. Who does he consider to be the working man? Anyone without savings. He's hitting just about everybody in the country, apart from those probably on benefits or very low income. He's hitting a lot of people there that didn't expect this because they voted for Labour. They didn't expect communism. So what we've got to take away from this is, if there's one thing going to wake a lot of people up, it's Keir Starmer. He's going to wake them up, he's going to do your job for you. Quite often, success is people's downfall. And I have a very strong feeling it's going to be him. Because in 98 constituencies, the Reform vote came second. They've got 5 MPs sitting there. Why do you think there's all these accusations about the riots being caused by Nigel Farage? It had absolutely nothing to do with them. Because the biggest threat to Keir Starmer isn't the Conservative Party. The Conservative Party have already self-harmed to the point of near annihilation. So they're not afraid of the Conservatives because they're the uni party anyway. So what you've got to look at is the thing that they are concerned about is Reform. Because Reform have got 5 MPs together in the matter of a few weeks and come second in 98 constituencies. They're knocking it out the park on TikTok with the young. I seriously doubt Labour will be saying, oh, let the 16-year-olds vote, because the 16-year-olds are gravitating to Farage because he's talking to them, about how they'll never have the opportunity to own a home because the homes are going to be filled up with people just pouring into the country. So the success of Labour's win with a low turnout can actually work out to our advantage, and you've got to see that. All you need to do, your job in this fight, is just to keep talking to your friends and relatives and explaining how dire it is that they haven't voted for a Labour government. They've got a communist government because they're cutting down on free speech. They're trying to control you. And the reason they're doing this, it's not because they've got favourites. The reason they favour one side to the other is because one side is more dangerous because they've got ceremonial weapons in their places of worship and other parts. We don't have that, do we? We aren't a nation that's particularly gifted in the weapons department, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing when I look at places like America. But what you've got to look at is it can't go on. And it's no good saying, where are the Conservatives, where are the Conservatives? Why are you saying that when for the last 12 or 18 months we've all been saying it's a uni party, it's a uni party? The Conservatives aren't going to kick off because it doesn't really matter who's delivering globalism as long as it gets delivered. It doesn't matter which is the face on the head of the snake. Happens to be Keir Starmer, happens to be a really, really outwardly hard left individual whose affinity, looking at his background, you could be forgiven for thinking communism comes first. And the way he's doing things, his behaviour is proving it. But I don't see this. I see it as a tough time. It's going to be you've lost your heating allowance, and another 12 months you're going to lose the social care credit cap. The budget's going to be an absolute belter because it's got to dole out that much tax that even the Guardian journalists that think they're on board, even you've got to remember all these people, the university professors that roll on good money. If you think about Starmer's direction with his wording, he supports the working class, people without any savings. Then all these journalists, these left-wing journalists and the people in the institutions and the well-paid NHS and the well-paid civil servants, that's going to hit them. So when he says savings, does he mean actually money in the bank, or does he mean you've acquired assets to the value of more than £6,000, like maybe the equity in your home, or you've got a car or a caravan? It's going to hit a lot of people here. And the only way people fight is when there's something to fight for. And currently, a massive part of the nation don't think there's any reason to fight. That's why they didn't vote. And I know, was it Mark Twain that said if voting was any good, they wouldn't have let you do it, something like that. Well, I think it's going to turn full circle because all of a sudden voting is still in, it's still out, democratic country allegedly, clinging on. But as he unleashes more stuff that wasn't even in his manifesto, and it's going to go that way for sure, he's going to upset a lot of people he put in there. And it was a low turnout. Now, after the election, people can see that Reform isn't just a fringe party sat outside Parliament. Reform is on the inside with 5 MPs. With a conference coming up, they're advertising it all over the internet. And with council elections coming up, and a nation that can see they came second in all those seats, all of a sudden it's a force to be reckoned with. In fact, it's the best force to be reckoned with. And I'm the first one to admit that I have slagged Reform off. I have turned around, I have not supported them when Richard Tice was at the helm because of mistakes. Mistakes that were made with the rollout, mistakes that were made with him going to Ukraine. Just keep your nose out, you're in a fringe party at that stage. Nobody cares what you think of overseas matters. And please, please learn to stop looking at manifestos. Stop asking what's in their manifesto. We're literally that far down to the abyss. As long as it isn't communism, it'll do. Remember that. Stop nitpicking on what are they going to do about this and what are they going to do. It's irrelevant. As long as it's not as bad as Keir Starmer, it'll do. Because show me a government that kept to its manifesto. You won't be able to bring up one. Happy to stand corrected if you put it on the thread. You won't find one government that's delivered its manifesto. So dwelling on manifestos and dwelling on whether or not the Reform Party is set up like a party with membership or a party where you just subscribe. I'm of the understanding it's incorporated, so you will just be subscribing. It wasn't done maliciously. It wasn't done to be underhand. It was done to avoid a lot of red tape put there by the Electoral Commission. And who are the Electoral Commission? The Electoral Commission are a quango set up by Tony Blair so that it was more difficult for parties to set up. That's how they came to power. It kept people, well, we can't do that because you've got to have this and you've got to have that. Set up as a corporation, it doesn't need to adhere to things that a party does. Reclaim parties set up along a similar fashion. Nothing to hide there. It's not about anybody having control or using it manipulatively to make money. I don't know what they do with the money. I don't know what political parties do with the money. Because all I'm bothered about now is I don't care what the badge is. And the other thing, I've done another blog on Twitter urging all the people who are in the smaller parties like Heritage, like ADF, or AFD, is it? I always get mixed up with the German one. Dr. Ted Kong is one of the nicest people I've ever come across, and he'd be an excellent politician. He'd be great in the House of Commons. But we've got to stop standing behind these small parties now. And the best and most effective thing you can be is yourself. Your values don't change depending on what badge you've got behind you, do they? Whoever you are as a person, you're David Curtin running Heritage, you're still that man that believes all those things. And you're still Ted Kong that believes all those things. And all those things aren't so far away from these things. And Reform isn't so far away from all that. So what you need to do is play smart and decide to be yourself. And when there is an election, and start working on it now like I am. Don't start working on it when it comes to an election because you've fallen into the uniparty hands again. Start working now and be yourself and be prepared to put your banners away and stand under a Reform badge, even if it's a shambles. It's the one that's getting publicity, it's the one that the establishment is afraid of, and it's the one that's got Nigel Farage, who's an excellent communicator. You don't have to like him. He's an excellent communicator and he will get media attention. So that is the bit that you don't command. That is the bit that you like. All right, you can do your paid sound bites. I see you on GB News. But where are you going with it really? And all the people that spend the money with you, where are you going with it really? You've got to start asking yourself these questions because you're going round and round and round in circles, taking people's money off them every year to end up on the road to nowhere. Now you have a chance to be yourself, to put yourself forward with all the things that you value. You've just got a different badge. You've got a badge that'll help you get there. And when you get there, you can do all the things you promise your followers, and your followers will get all those things you promised. So you've got to start seeing things from a realistic point of view. Look at it like a business and make the business work. You're too protective of what you've built up, and what you've built up can be torn apart in seconds because you're not going to get anywhere standing on your own. I don't care what party you are. I'm not having a go at you. I see you as decent people, but your egos are in the way. Park it up and get together, because the other side have it in buckets. They have patience and unity. The two things we lack. They have patience because it's took them decades to get where they are. And we are impatient. Starmer's in, do something about it. No, Starmer's in, work to get him out. And work from this moment in time. And work together, come together, contact Reform, go to the conference, see what you can do. Because this is the only way out. I stand here as a layman who's not affiliated to any parties particularly, and I've watched it ebb and flow over this last 8, I'm in my 9th year now, it's sickening, and I've done everything I've done without taking money off the public. I get a bit of money from YouTube now, and I get a bit of money from Twitter. It's just about covers the paint on my bloody garden shed. So what I'm saying is I do this because I am passionate about stopping this country going into the abyss. I live here. I've got something to lose. I'm invested in this country. I had a look around years ago. Where do I live? Do I live in Austria, where it's better run? There's no graffiti. There's no particular crime. But there's mandates for the rollout. No thanks. They're in the EU. They'll get told what to do no matter how nice the country is. Don't want to be the foreigner sat there when I've decided to decline the rollout, and they're all there with, you know how Germanic nations are good at doing what they're told. We've seen that. Do I really want to sit there? No. Do I want to sit in France, where it's socialist anyway? No, I don't want to sit there. I want to sit here. I want to be in my country, but I want it to work better than it does. So I do this for nothing. So I see all the people I'm talking about in the small parties as decent, honest people. But you've got to park this pushing your small parties, because you've only got to look how long it's took Reform to get where they are. And they've had media coverage, and they've had the backing of being the Brexit Party initially, and the money that's been poured into that, and look where they are. They've only just got a foothold. But it's a foothold you can benefit from, because all your values are so similar. You're all on the same side. Get together. Been asking for small parties to work together for 9 years. Enough's enough. So if you feel a bit insulted by what I'm saying, take it on the chin. What were they called then? The SDP, was it? There used to be an important party a few years ago, 20 years ago. And one of them had said it's a slow burn method. We see ourselves with seats in the 2030s. No! By 2030 we'll be talking bloody Mandarin with the way this fella's moving. There isn't time to hang about waiting to become effective. You've got to get together now, no matter how much you dislike the outrageousness of Lawrence Fox, no matter how much you don't agree with David Curtin's take on Christianity, whatever the hell it is you've got to hang up about. You need to park it and get together. And that's the only way you're going to make a difference. It is the only way forward. Because you've got a foothold now, and what you should be doing is putting your personal values forward and using the badge that gets the publicity and the badge that's already got a foothold. That's all it is. It's nothing personal. Please think about what I've said about the fact that I do see Labour's success will be its downfall. A low voter turnout, so he hasn't captured the nation. And I reckon half of the people that have voted for him will be bitterly disappointed in him after he unleashes more stuff that's not in his manifesto. He's hitting just about every household. That never turns out well.